Welcome to Fan for Racing Radio. I am Fan for Racing Sharon, and we lost Chris. I'm Fan for Racing Sharon, and we're starting a brand new endeavor here at Fan for Racing Radio. We have, we lost, there, Taz. Taz is the one we're missing. Okay, there we go.
There we go.
We've got everybody now.
Yes.
And this is a new endeavor for us for the 2026 season. It's also the very first show of our 26th season. So, Chris, I'm going to hand it off to you to introduce everybody, but we're going to be doing this every Wednesday night, 6 o'clock, right here on Fan for Racing Radio. And it's Race Chat Live. Why don't you tell them what it is we're going to do and then introduce the participants?
For sure. Look, we're Race Chat Live. We've been a partnership. Me and Mr. CJ Sports have been together since 2015, back in the Steve Billmeyer days, racing with Big Sweat. Unfortunately, Steve passed away, and I inherited the show, or we inherited the show, and we just rebranded, and we brought along co-hosts that will hopefully show up sometime here tonight and maybe make an appearance, Craig Moore. And then Craig Moore brought our great friend, our Tasmanian devil, Taz Taylor, into the mix. And we've lost a couple of friends along the way. Mr. CJ Sports and I have unfortunately lost 3 members of our team originally. And so we just want to give a shout out to John Izzo and Steve Billmeyer and Mike Perricone. We miss y'all. We wish y'all were here as we're starting this new endeavor. The one thing that I think we emphasized more than anything over the last year was how much we missed each other and how much we missed being a part of each other's lives. And that's just an impact that you can't replace. So where we were, and, Blog Talk Radio kind of just shut down on us. We didn't really have somewhere to go. And, of course, I relied on Miss Sharon last year, and she brought me in, or as I called her, Susan last year. Come on, Susan. But that was kind of it was an experience, and it kept us moving. It kept this thing going, and so we didn't give up. And here we are today. Like, we had all this planned out and totally not structured, but we knew that we were going to do something, right? We come together about a month and a half ago, and we said, this is what we're going to do. We're going to bring Race Chat Live back. With bringing Race Chat Live back, we're also bringing the 110 Nation with us, because that's our home. That's where our hearts are. That's where we grew from. And it's always been a partnership. It's always been I scratch your back, you scratch mine. Mr. CJ Sports has given me the ability over the years to bring all kinds of people along into the network. Some lasted, some didn't. Some were, enemies when they left, and others were friends, and they left on good terms. We're not going to bring Damian Bean back anymore. me and him are actually on good terms, so no, he's not coming back. So he has talked to me several times. We're good. Yeah, for sure. I'm Chris. This is Taz, Mr. CJ Sports. I want to go around the horn real quick. Mr. CJ Sports, tell us a little bit about yourself real quick, and what you've been through and what you're bringing to the table here with Race Chat Live, and then we'll get to our other co-host, Taz Taylor.
All right. We formed the 110 Nation April 15, 2011. So this all started, had no idea what we was even doing. I ended up going through some personal stuff, which Miss Lee, which I'm sure we will hear and see Miss Lee at some point throughout this season. She happened to be part of the comments. She kind of ran the chat group for us, and she ended up reaching out one time a couple months after the personal stuff that went on, and asked her, are we going to do this again? And then that's when we kind of rebranded, retook off, and we were going strong all the way until Blog Talk kind of went down. I am the original mastermind behind all this, but it was a learning process, a lot of things that trial and error. And then Chris came along, Taz came along, Craig came along, amongst the others we had lost. And we just kept rebranding, redoing things, and we all became one big family. And there's been times that each of us have had things going on in our life that we've all kind of stepped away a little bit, to include myself, but we've all came right back. And it was funny because before this was all brought to me, talking about us doing again, bringing the band back together this year, I had just had a conversation with the wife talking about I wish there was a way we could figure out to get back together and be able to do some shows together. So I'm a store manager for the second largest convenience store chain in the world, and I also own a landscaping company and a sports merchandise company. So I stay very busy amongst being a family guy and doing stuff with the wife, and just growing that whole aspect of my life as well. So looking forward to being here. Grew up around racing, being with the 110 Nation. I think I've probably gone to 50 to 100 races in total across all three divisions, to include NHRA, to include some backwoods. We'll have to talk about it sometime for the new fans. I drove out the middle of a field out there by Charlotte, North Carolina during All-Star Week and watched these mini sprint cars out there. Great time. Was sitting out there with Casey Kane. Kyle Larson was out there racing. It was it was the most backwood thing, but ended up being one of the greatest nights I've ever got to experience in my racing media life. So looking forward to bringing all my life experience and the love of NASCAR and the love of racing to the table. And Taz, you're up.
Well, my name is Taz. For those who haven't been with us, or for those who are new to this network, but those who are familiar with Race Chat Live for the last few years, I'm what is known as, Chris has called me for the last few years, the Tasmanian Devil of Flaggers, as I head flag for a racetrack known as Dreamfield Speedway in Afton, New York. That is a relatively new kart track, opened up back in 2024, I do believe. Halfway through, yes, 2024, halfway through the racing season, believe it or not. I was supposed to be head flagger earlier in 2024 through Action Park East but the promoter of that track ended up taking over for Dreamfield. Well, actually, he built Dreamfield, and then eventually after 2024, he left Action Park to full-time focus on Dreamfields, but he brought me along for the ride. But I've been flagging since 2019. Corner flagging, head flagging, lawnmowers, go-karts. The only thing I haven't done is big car flagging racing, but we'll see how far along that gets. But I'm right now living the dream of being a head flagger for a racetrack. That was my goal to get to that point. My 4 or 5-year-old self flagging in the grandstands at Uticrome Speedway on Sunday nights when I went as a kid would dream of that, just becoming the flag guy in the flag stand. But anyways, we're here with Chris. I've been with NASCAR for God knows how long. I think at one point in my life I stepped away from the racing scene to focus more on my soccer endeavors throughout high school and college. And I played through the NJCAA program. The college I was part of was Cayuga Community College. At the time when I went, it was one of the top schools, not only in the nation, but one of the top schools pretty much in New York State. Region 3 basically is New York State, take away Long Island. I'll pretty much narrow it down for you. But yeah, I got back into the racing scene probably around 2016-ish, maybe a little bit earlier than that. And ever since, I've met a friend of mine, Luke Kurkowski, who brought me into the flagging deal. I met Craig Moore, who Chris mentioned earlier. He brought me in for the Race Chat Live part, and ever since then, I just did local roundup scenes for Race Chat Live. I would be on for like maybe 30 minutes tops. And then eventually as time's gone on, I kind of grew into more of like a on-call host, co-host for the show, and eventually led to full-time as time has gone on. So, and Chris and I have been doing it as a duo for how long now? Probably 3-4 years now.
I mean, you were back before COVID. So, I mean, I think 2018, 2019, that would be almost 7 years now, Taz. It's the Simlite behind your ears has been gone for a long time. Okay. We don't smell baby formula anymore. You're not a green. I remember your first couple of years.
Speaking of COVID in 2020, it seems like a lifetime ago that we were watching NASCAR drivers drive on the simulator, whatever, the iRacing, and we were just excited just to see that. Like, that's
yes.
so crazy to even think about it. I didn't even think about that until you just said 2020 and COVID. Like, we watched them play video games.
The one thing I will say, I'll probably defer from everybody else, at least for the most part, is that yes, everyone was excited for that part. I stayed excited afterwards, only because I kind of like the gaming virtual side of things. Not saying I don't like the real life racing world, but just for me, yeah, I don't game as much now as I used to, but I enjoy that stuff. I like seeing the adversity, the different style of racing, and everyone says it's not the real thing. You're right, it's not the real thing. It brings different styles, yes, and some on the computer side of things with iRacing, it's as close to realistic as you're gonna get.
Yeah.
But in terms of like console gaming type of stuff with NASCAR racing, I know at one point NASCAR did step into that side of things. No, it's not the most realistic thing, but it's something different. It's unique in its own right, and it's okay. I know iRacing, they're just bringing in the NASCAR gaming world now outside of the iRacing PC. They released NASCAR 25. So without going to get iRacing for your computer and doing all that, I would say that game is probably the closest thing to iRacing, which is the closest to realistic racing as you're going to get. Yeah. So I'm okay with the virtual side of things, and I'll probably talk about it every now and then.
Oh, yeah, definitely. We're going to get all kinds of topics off this year. Look, I was late for supper, so if y'all see me cashed out, I am trying to eat a grilled cheese amongst all this, so please forgive me. So that's our kind of our round table of where we are, where we're from. Of course, I'm Why Not Motorsports Park affiliated. I am the voice of Why Not Motorsports Park. That has been an endeavor for 14 years now. I went from being a greenhorn who just blabbered on the microphone to something a little bit more than that, a broadcaster these days. And it's a lot of pressure, and it's definitely not an easy job. People say is you just talk, but it's so much more than that. It's really, it's difficult for me. It may be easy for some, but it's difficult for me. And it's been a definite ride to get where I am. I was inspired many years ago as a blogger to do this route. And actually, you know, what we figured out was Miss Sharon was kind of the one that gave me the opportunity to be on air while I was still doing my own show. I ventured out over to there in 2014, and that's where I met Steve at. And so all of this is kind of gelled together into one big old happy family, because I was literally with Steve on air with him, and he's the one that invited me over to where the 110 Nation was. And of course I got to meet Mr. CJ Sports. So it's just a big old circle world, and we're right back here, and we're looking for a new beginning and a great start. And with that, I guess we start on our topics here tonight. I don't really know if we could say that the court case was a big topic, and it was definitely a huge topic of 2025. But there's been a certain topic that has lingered for years, and it's been since the vacuum effect of one manufacturer that left NASCAR back, I believe, in 2012. It was where Dodge decided to exit out of NASCAR. So since 2012, NASCAR has been searching for this fourth manufacturer, and well, it was announced in 2025 that NASCAR had found a fourth manufacturer, and that is none other than Stellantis, which is the parent company to Ram and Dodge. So, bringing things right back around, here we are again. We're about to debut a a Ram truck this year in the Craftsman Truck Series. And lo and behold, the key holder to these new Ram trucks is none other than Colleague Racing, and they have a certain show on right now where they're
called Race for the Seat.
Well, why don't you tell us about it real quick, Taz, as we open the discussions.
So as Chris is talking about NASCAR with the Truck Series, Ram, Dodge is coming back into the sport. They're going to start with the Truck Series through Colleague Racing, fielding, I believe, 5 trucks, if I remember right. Chris, if you want to correct me on that, you can.
That's correct.
And they've already announced that Brendan Queen, Daniel Dye, and Justin Haley will be in 3 of those trucks full time. The 4th truck will basically be like an all-star truck that will be ran by a different driver every race. We do know, however, for Daytona, Tony Stewart, Tony the Tiger, is coming back. Better be careful because he might come and kick your rear end, but that's besides the point. And then the 5th truck, as we were just getting into, they Colleague, in partnership with Dodge and Ram, have basically released as of Monday I guess you could say a hit reality show, but basically they're taking 15 drivers from as far as dirt track racing, late model racing, pretty much you name it, racing, pretty much they're in it. 15 drivers competing for one spot to get this last truck. So far, there have only been 2 episodes, and there are some familiar names in this group of 15 drivers. The one most notable to me, anyways, being that I'm from the Northeast area, would be Michael Christopher Jr. For those who may familiarize at least with the last name of Christopher, if you've heard of Ted Christopher through the modified ranks back then, Ted Christopher, big in the modifieds, is the uncle to Michael Christopher Jr. So that was one notable driver for me right out of the gate. Out of those 15, I know there's a few others. Tanner Reif was another one. I know there's Landon Huffman was another one I remembered. Trying to think of a few others. I knew there was a couple others when I went through the 15 driver list of who they were. I'm sure if I go look at it real quick, I'll probably remember. But I know Casey Kelly. I believe Casey Kelly.
I just put it in the chat if you want to read it, Taz.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. I believe Casey Kelly won the first night. Basically, they split the 15 drivers into groups of 5. They have Group R, Group A, Group M. I'll kind of try to symbolize this up. Group R is like their fastest guys. Group A is like your mid pack, and Group M is your slowest guys. Basically, they'll run 3 groups of 5. In terms of what you would call heat races, the winner goes on to what's basically the feature, the main event, going for the money. And and however they do it is that if you win your group, you move up. If you finish last in your group, you move down. So if you finish last in Group R, you're going to be knocked down to Group A. And if you're the winner of Group A, you move up to Group R. Same for the A&M side for the groups A and M on that side of deal. But yeah, 2 episodes in. I know episode 3 airs tonight. They're going to do something that's not very familiar with a lot of racing fans, and that's putting late models on a road course at Virginia International Raceway. I can't wait to see how that's going to go out.
First 2 episodes have been absolutely awesome. I've really enjoyed them. The first one, they were in legend cars. The second episode, they were on go-karts. I'm feeling a little bit of team learning here amongst the drivers. Of course, it's a competition, so there's going to be just one person that's able to fill that seat. But Mr. CJ Sports, I believe you're hanging on the line here. What do you have?
I just have a couple questions. I try to skim over a little bit of the details you sent. This 5th car that they're racing for, is it a full-time ride?
Yes.
It is a full-time truck.
And so we're only like weeks away from the beginning of the season, and you're talking, and I believe I saw on 8 episodes. So how often are these episodes? Because my math says there's not enough time to have it, and we would know the winner if it's a full-time ride before 8 weeks or 5 more weeks play out.
So they did release a schedule. It's kind of more of like a daily deal.
Okay.
I thought episode 3 was supposed to air last night, but I guess they must have had a day break in terms of airtime or whatever. So like I said, episode 1 was actually Sunday. Episode 2 was Monday. They took last night off. And then tonight's episode 3. So it's kind of more on a daily to kind of lead up into the season.
All right, that makes more sense because I was just trying to figure how you would have this whole play out before the season start. We're getting ready to start the season, so.
Yeah, just so you know, I know who hasn't made it into, I think it's already happened. They know who has won that contest.
Yeah, I've been seeing Michael Christopher Jr.'s post every now and then. He'll promote the show when it airs, but I'm sure he already knows the outcome of the whole deal because by how they were talking for the show, it sounded like they did this back in like October, November.
Okay.
Oh, wow. So this has already played out, and we're just now getting the bits and pieces to it. So that's interesting.
Yeah, so I was also wondering how you were doing all these different type of cars day after day. Like that's just that's a lot of moving parts real quick. So that would make more sense too.
Right. Have you caught up with any of the episodes, Mr. CJ Sports?
No,
I know
I'm
you're a
not.
busy guy. Yeah, it's really cool. If you get a chance, they're 45 minutes long a piece, though, so that's a really time consuming on it. But yeah, so episode 3 comes out today. I've got my eyes on who I think it is. I've been caught by Minnie Tyrell. Of course, there's Michael Christopher Jr. What is it? Michael? Yeah, it's Michael Christopher Jr.
Yep.
And there's another one, Tanner Reif, which Tanner, he kind of set the world on fire on the first day by kind of bucking up to Chris Rice. And, look, I mean, it is what it is. He was observant, but he also needed to understand that probably if there's a time to talk and a time not to. So it's going to be really interesting how that comes down and about. I like the idea, as Mr. CJ Sports said. This could have been played out a little bit better so that it had, a process of coming out week by week. It is kind of confusing with it all compiling. I think there's 8 total episodes that are going to be released, and we're already on episode number 3. So I want to find out who that driver is. Also, just to update you guys, the 4th truck, there's 3 full-time trucks. Well, now there's 5 full-time trucks. I'm sorry. But 3 of them have already been decided. There's the contest winner, and then what they're calling the free agent truck. And this is going to be a truck where Tony Stewart's going to be in. And they said that every Monday they're going to announce who that next driver is. So that's going to be interesting. That's going to give us something to look at throughout the year and something to kind of hang on. Who's going to be in the truck next? So they're calling it the free agent truck, and they're supposed to be putting drivers of all different kinds there. And look, obviously, if they see another driver from this class that they did and this little show that they put together, I would not be surprised to see one of those guys actually appear just as a free agent truck and not for the full season. So
yeah, there there was a few drivers that they're already liking just based off the 2 episodes there. I know Michael Christopher they were impressed with, especially in the Legends cars, knowing that with the Legends cars that there were 2 of them that were faster than the other 3. And Michael Christopher was in one of those slower 3 when they first started that challenge, and he finished second in his group. I think he was like half a second off from the leader at the end of it. So I mean, he's got the talent, obviously, so far through the 2 episodes we've seen. Now it's just a matter of can he continue that. I thought he would have won episode 2 with the go-karts, not going to lie. But the last lap pass by Cade Brown, I believe, and the funny part is that Christopher knew that there could be a possible chance of a promoter's caution if the race got to be boring. So when he was starting to walk away, he kind of slowed down and signaled to the other drivers like, hey, let's make this a race. Let's not make it a snooze fest. Otherwise, we're going to get a bunch up that we're probably not going to want.
Yeah. Strategy. So yeah, I would say my early favorite would have been Michael Christopher Jr. just based off of his background. I'm seeing over here Tanner Reif, Landon Huffman, Grant Grisbach, Jared Fryer, Casey Kelly, Carson Ferguson, and Cade Brown. I kind of figured that Carson was going to struggle, and I think that we've seen that in the first 2 episodes. Not much to hold on to there. I think he finished second or something in one of the heat races.
He's a dirt driver, isn't he?
Yeah, he's from the dirt world.
Okay, I thought so.
And so the Legends cars were a little bit outside of what he does, and most definitely the road course racing wasn't in his favor.
I know Christopher is a true short track racer, given the modified background, but usually when it comes to it didn't surprise me any that he stuck out well with the Legends, but I know when it comes to road course racing, 9 times out of 10 when you see road course racers, short track racers, somehow they find a way to do well, vice versa, only because they know the car control, how to ease into the corners, and know when to throttle out.
Right. Mr. CJ Sports, you got a question for us?
Nah, you guys answered all my questions. I'm just eager to, once I get when the show's over tonight, I'm probably going to catch the first episode. So by the time we come around next week, I'll be all caught up on current. This is sounds like something up my alley. So I'm gonna give it a shot and see what I like.
Yeah, and since we're on the Truck Series news, first of all, the other 3 drivers are Brendan Butterbean Queen. If y'all haven't caught that guy on Flow Racing before he even showed up in the Truck Series
Cars Tour,
the Cars Tour, man, he put on a show. Plus, he's a full-time racer like South Boston and Stafford and right. That's where this kid come from originally, right, Taz?
I want to say so. Somewhere like the Virginia, Carolina area.
Right. Daniel Dye and Justin Haley. Your thoughts real quick. You know, Justin Haley, last year we were asking the question with Corey LaJoy, why not take a full-time Truck Series ride to kind of keep you in the mix? Justin Haley did that, and he did that with Dodge. And, I remember watching Door Bumper Clear, and Tommy Baldwin said there's no way in hell Justin Haley is going to be in the car in a Ram truck. And, of course, a week later it's announced that Justin Haley accepted that ride.
So it makes me wonder if he's thinking of taking like a John Hunter Nemechek direction. Because if you remember John Hunter Nemechek, he was with, I think, Ford, I want to say. And then moved up to Cup Series, and when he found out that he wasn't truly ready for the Cup Series, he took the Toyota route. Toyota picked him up, and he started truck racing there, and he was a dominant force. Almost, I'm going to keyword almost. almost dominated like Corey Heim did this past season. But John Hunter was a force to be reckoned with in the trucks. I think he was there for 2 years in the trucks before moving up to Xfinity. And that eventually has led him to where he is now on the Cup side, still with Toyota. I think he's with Legacy Motor Club yet. Yeah, it's kind of I feel like they're still in a transition / now they're really getting their feet motivated. I think we saw some spurts last year of Legacy Motor Club really starting to come out of the shell, out of the transitional part. So I think Justin Haley is trying to take that route, and it's weird. And it's funny how Haley went from he was with Colleague, then that weird trade
Spire.
happened
Right.
with Spire, Spire. Oh, it was
He
Spire.
was originally with
Colleague.
Spire. He was originally with Spire, and then he went to Colleague and raced the 31, and then somehow got traded over to Spire again. Right? Am I right?
Oh yeah, because he was with the 77 Spire car part time,
and then he went
full time to Colleague, and then he went Cup racing with Spire.
And then got traded to Rick Ware Racing.
And now he's back with Colleague. So he must have ended with good terms with Colleague Racing if they picked him back up, at least for the truck side of things. So I'm hoping that Haley finds some sort of success out of this. Another piece of Truck Series news I want to bring up, since we're on the topic, is out of the Halmar Friesen Racing Camp. They're going to be fielding 2 full-time trucks this year. The 52 will be piloted by Stuart Friesen, who was sidelined from season-ending injury going modified racing. He said for the most part, he's healed up and good. He's still talking to doctors to make sure everything's A-okay, good to go, but he is cleared to race. He'll be racing in his modified here pretty soon at Volusia. And I think he might be doing Aldtech too before going to Volusia. I'm not fully sure on that. And then he'll be hitting the Truck Series as well full time. And then the 62 truck that Halmar piloted part time for the last couple of seasons is now running full time. That's basically going to be a part time all-star truck. As of right now, we do know that John Hunter Nemechek will be piloting the 62 truck for Daytona.
Right. Tyler Reif. Okay, let's expand this. So, real quick, since we're still on the Truck Series, I did want to bring to the table the part timers that are going to be racing this year in the Truck Series. It kind of feels like the Truck Series is kind of going to be this mixed breed between. All right, Miss Lee's here. Mama Bear in the house. I swear, I'm just so excited to be here. I don't even know. I gotta get the grin off. So it's going to be kind of a mixed breed between very young talent and kind of the old man series that really the Truck Series started out as. Back in '95, when the Truck Series first come along, it was really a lot of drivers that were not going to be Cup capable. But we did get a few drivers from the Truck Series that eventually come up. But in the beginning, the Truck Series was really kind of on its own. It was kind of like an old man series. You had drivers like
Johnny Sauter,
David Starr, and
Matt Crafton.
Yeah, Matt Crafton. But even in the beginning, it was even more. I don't want to say one certain name because I think he's gotten kind of in a lot of trouble. Mike Skinner is one that I can. Jack Sprague, another driver that I can come up with, and I believe it was Jim Sauter. Who was Bob Keselowski? How about Bob Keselowski racing in the original Craftsman Truck Series? But now this year we're going to have Ricky Stenhouse Jr., who's going to be racing a couple of races this year.
Oh Lord!
In Ricky. Travis Pastrana is coming back.
Yes.
He's going to be racing at Daytona. Ross Chastain has 8 races, as we know. there's been some rule changes. NASCAR's allowing now, I think, 8 races per series for Cup Series drivers to drive instead of 5. So they kind of opened the door up with that.
Does that mean Rowdy's going to come back a little bit more?
I would expect that. I really would. Like, there's not been an official announcement. I haven't had anything come across my desk, but I would definitely expect Kyle Busch.
I think the rule still applies, and I'm going to word it in a certain way because we have yet to get to this topic. I think the rule still applies that Cup drivers and Cup and Xfinity regulars cannot race in the postseason races.
Correct.
And I worded it that way because we're going to get to that topic here at some point.
Yeah. John Hunter Nemechek, he'll be in Daytona in a Halmar number 62. So isn't that what number is Stuart Friesen?
Stewie's driving the 52, and the 62 will be his other truck.
Okay, 52 and 62. Okay. Connor Mosack, which I call him Ballsack. I'm sorry. 12. Look, we got to keep it, PG-13, rated R, but we can't go above that. But, look, that's probably the worst I'll say. Scheduled for 12 truck races this year with Spire Motorsports. There is a return of Haley Deegan. She's not been announced yet in the Truck Series, but I do want to announce that because I'm going to get to Tony Bredinger. She has an 8-race partial schedule with Rackley Wars. So,
Deegs.
Hey, that's what's up.
She ran the ARCA West this year.
Yeah, she's going to be back in the 16. That's where she got her name from, right? I mean, that's the car that she got her 16,
name,
right?
She got her name with that team, just not the 16 car.
There is one of the ladies that I really am looking forward to seeing what she come a long way last year, and I can't think of her name right now. I was big on her.
Bredinger?
No. It was she raced in the Cup Series. Her name is
Catherine Legg.
Yes, Catherine Legg. Oh my gosh, I promise you, she's the real Danica Patrick. She is the real deal. Look, CJ, I just had to put Danica in there, just for old times, baby. Come on. So, but in reality, she is a talented race car driver. She caught a lot of rip when she come in last year and made her debut. By the end of the year, she was running with the boys, and I am really looking forward to seeing what Catherine Legg's schedule looks like for the rest of the year, which we're kind of in between topics here. Let's go on to the next topic, and I know, Mr. CJ Sports, we got to get you caught up on a lot of things, but we're just happy you're here. You follow with us. You put your opinions. You ask the questions. That's fine. Taz and I, we're ready for you. So you just sit back and we're going to get you caught up on the news. And then when you find something or a hole in something, you make sure you put it in and let us know that you need this answered. So,
Chris, you need to get popcorn ready for that microwave over there and just somehow virtually transfer it over to Mr. CJ so he can be snacking on something.
Yeah. Well, I am. I mean, I'll share my French fries if y'all want to. So, this was a really touchy subject last year on the show that I was on, and I'm not going to name any names or anything, but I did aggravate a few. As y'all know, I'm very I'm almost on the side of pestering. Like when I believe in something, I really believe in it. Mr. CJ Sports, Taz, you guys know. Sometimes I get these hunches, and I know it's real. I knew Kyle Larson was going to go drive for Hendrick Motorsports and win a championship. I knew that was going to happen. Mr. CJ Sports, you can attest to it. I caught it several years before it even happened. Mr. CJ Sports was adamant he's going to be loyal to Ganassi. Ganassi gave him his chance. He's going to be loyal. Chip Ganassi went out the door. Kyle Larson winds up at Hendrick Motorsports. We're not even going to talk about COVID and how it all happened, because even that is crazy. But, look, sometimes I just got these hunches and I've got these feelings. Well, in walks in the lawsuit, and I think everybody in the industry thought, man, you are not going to win a lawsuit against NASCAR. It has been tried before. It has been attempted, and nobody has ever won a lawsuit against NASCAR, at least not in this magnitude. And most of us were confused on what really the true idea of the lawsuit was about. And some of us had ideas, and others may have agreed or disagreed. But I knew it was a lot more complex than just one simple subject. It was really a variety of different things. The main thing that kicked the lawsuit off was there was things presented in the lawsuit that didn't allow teams to basically hold NASCAR accountable for certain decisions. And there was also this push for permanent charters. And I'm going to tell you something right now. If I have bought something and I went to the bank to borrow money to get it, I want to know for damn sure that it's mine. And that's something that with this charter system in the first, I guess, 8 years that it was implemented, there was not a definite that you owned that charter. NASCAR basically said, we can come in and we can take your charter at any time that we please. And who knows, we might not even we may not even bring the charters back. We may just make them go away if that's what we see fit. Well, I knew that was a problem. And Michael Jordan obviously knew that was a problem. And so we went through the lawsuit. And then in the end, I think teams really got what they were searching for. And one of those things was more money, of course, a better deal. Another thing was the permanent charters. As all that has come about, there's been a lot of things that have come out in this lawsuit, in this hearing, that have become damaging to our sport. One of them, of course, Steve Phelps let out, a message, a private message that was never intended for the public to see. That basically where he was calling Richard Childress a redneck, and he needed to be taken out back behind the tool shed. And I know it wasn't the tool shed that he said, but in those regards, I'm not quoting. But those were certain things that the industry had to hear, and it really formulated an opinion. Where in the beginning, I think a lot of people were pro NASCAR. In the end, I feel like NASCAR allowed this lawsuit to go way too long. And when motion of discovery happened and these certain things, look, I'm in the industry. There are things that I have spoken to and about of certain people in the industry that I would never want them to know, right? Because this is a business, and sometimes in business you don't necessarily get along with everybody. So you have the people that you rely on and that you talk to. But I'm going to tell you right now, if we don't like somebody, guys, we need to talk about it on the telephone or something to that. Because if you leave it in a text message or an email, buddy, you better bet it is a chance that it can get exposed. So, it finally got settled. The lawsuit is finally over with. 2311, Front Row Motorsports come out as the heroes that saved NASCAR. I want to know you guys. I want to know from your opinion of how you think this Michael Jordan situation, he was the guy who finally stood up and said, I've got just as much money, if not more than you. I'm gonna push this as far as I can. Look at the popcorn. All right. Taz Taylor, I'm going to send it to you, buddy. You're going to have to help me now because.
Oh, that was great.
There's the popcorn.
Before he gets into all this, I understand the purpose of the charter. I have never been a fan of the charter. I've never been a fan of guaranteed spots in the lineup. I want the 40 best, regardless who the 40 best is. And I know in the world we live in now, and the cost for these race teams and the cost for sponsorship and everything else, it makes it impossible. And they want those guarantees. They want to know if we're going to spend these millions of dollars every year to sponsor your car, that you're going to be at every race and everything else. I get it, and things break and everything else, but I have never been a fan of guaranteeing anybody a starting position just because they bought a position, spent money on guaranteeing that spot, because I want the best of the best out there. 99% of the time, that's what we get anyway. But if you got your one off, then I want the 40 best, not the 41st best, and then and the actual best one doesn't have a guaranteed spot because he didn't have a charter and doesn't get a race, or the 36, So I've just never been a fan of it. But Taz, go ahead.
In terms of the court ruling, I think the teams, and I think the teams won more than NASCAR at this point. I know NASCAR for a while. I mean, Chris pretty much said it. They were kind of shooting themselves in the foot. Did they have points to prove in this? Yes. I do think that teams are now going to be more beneficial financially wise, anyways. I think that I think the teams are basically front row on 23-11. We're sitting here saying, like, look, we're not the top. We may not be top tier teams like your Hendricks, Joe Gibbs, and Penske's, but we are also, on the competitive side of things with those guys, but we don't pull in the money like they do. So us teams should get a little bit more like of an incentive. If NASCAR is making bank off of like TV ratings with these TV deals, and NASCAR's and these teams are only getting like, let's say for instance, like 3% of the TV deal, but NASCAR's making bank, and teams are trying to figure out how to pay the bills, not only try to keep sponsors, but also keep their teams alive in some way, regardless if they're trying to go from a 3 to a 4 car team, or if they're going from a 3 to a 2. Either way, they're just trying to keep doors open, keep people employed. Regardless if it's a driver or a pit crew member or a garage shop engineer, it doesn't matter. And they got to pay the bill somehow, some way. And they're at the point where it's like, we want a little bit more. Like, we don't want 3% of a TV deal. We may want, say, like, can we negotiate like a 10% deal? NASCAR says 10% is too much. Okay, let's negotiate to meet in the middle. That way NASCAR's still getting what they want, and the teams are still getting more money in the end. You're also thinking of other ways that NASCAR is putting money through the door. Like, say for merchandise sales, I'm sure NASCAR is getting a percentage out of merchandise sales. Yes, the teams are the ones that sell it, but how much is NASCAR dipping their hand into their own merchandise? So, and I'm sure payouts at races work differently too, but I think the teams are just wanting to make sure. I think 23-11 in front row, like teams like them and lower, are getting some sort of better financial state, so that way they can keep their doors open, keep people employed, and we're not seeing teams going in and out. Like for instance, that 62 team, no, I shouldn't say that. Better example would be, I can't think of their name. I would say that's Gaunt Brothers. Because at one point, Gaunt Brothers was a chartered full-time team. Then they became a full-time team not chartered with Daniel Suarez. And because they were not a chartered team, it screwed Suarez in a sense on points and money, not only for Suarez's sake, but the team's sake as well, because they were not a chartered team. And it sucked and I'm sure it sucked for Suarez that year, because they missed out on the 500. So I think this agreement benefited the teams. I feel like NASCAR may have benefited on the side, even though they were kind of more in the negatives, more than the positive. But I think the teams as a whole benefited better than they did to start with. And because of that, now we have these evergreen charters now.
Right. There's still stipulations in there, and you can still lose your charter, but NASCAR can't necessarily repo it without giving you something back for it.
Yep.
And all of that has been outlined in discussion on what percentage actually goes to the team itself and to the other teams when NASCAR repos one, and how much NASCAR actually gets out of it. So there is a structured balance now. There's still going to be requirements, I think, for these guys. They're going to have to bring a competitive team. We're not going to go back into the era of start and park. And I think that's a big thing. Right. So even though we have charters, even though we're guaranteeing a starting spot, the greatest thing, Mr. CJ Sports, is we don't have to worry about the era of start and park anymore. And that was a terrible era. Go back and watch NASCAR.com and the videos that he's done on that era. It's just heartbreaking that we were putting together these teams that were basically out there to do nothing more than to go out and qualify and then start a race, and 50 laps in, or even we were at Talladega and watched them pull in on lap 2 before. Like, that's, talk about.
And there's some of those teams that still go around in the ARCA side of things, if I remember right.
Right.
Yeah, I know it's been a while since I've watched ARCA, but
ARCA,
there's a few teams that go out of a, say, 150 lap race. They'll go out and do 5 laps and they're done.
Yeah. So ARCA has gotten horrible. There's only 6 to 8 competitive cars in the entire series, and sometimes that series has less than 20 cars. So ARCA is definitely one of those that has really taken a bite in this unbalanced era that we're in. Furthermore, the lawsuit, I think in the end, we lost Steve Phelps. I think that was a good move for him to step aside as the commissioner of NASCAR after what come about and what was said. Richard Childress was going to take off his watch band if they didn't do anything about that.
We bring up the RCR messages in that regard. The other part that kind of intrigued me a bit was the whole they saw SRX series as a threat to them, which I never understood, because Tony Stewart has come out and said publicly in an interview, and I wish I could find this dang thing, because ever since that came out, I was searching for it, and I swear on my life I've heard this. He said it out loud that SRX was never meant to be a competitor for NASCAR. It was a series of its own right. It was also, not only was it meant for like older drivers who are towards the end of their career or have retired, but it was also meant for the young upcoming drivers to, who are struggling to get their feet wet into, say, IndyCar, trying to move up in that rank or move up into NASCAR. The best example I can give you out of that for SRX is Ernie Francis Jr., who at like 20 years old was a 7-time champion in the Trans Am Series. He wanted to do something else besides dominate the Trans Am Series. He went to SRX and was a top competitor. Yes, most of the guys at that point were more on retired side, but most of them were still competitive as if they were racing like their prime years, pretty much. So Ernie was giving it to him. And he got an Indy Lights ride for a couple of years. I don't think IndyCar was to his best suiting. I think he fit better more in like a stock car role. And I wish he went down that direction, but unfortunately he didn't. But however, Marco Andretti also benefited out of this because he did get a few times to race on the NASCAR side of things when he was an IndyCar guy. So this is just so again, Stewart has said SRX was never meant to be a competitor. It was meant to be an outlet for young and upcoming drivers who are trying to, rise their stock in the racing world. Give older racers who are going to be hitting retirement soon or are retired a chance to race. And it also, at one point, allowed current Cup drivers to get more seat time that they were not getting with the practice and stuff. Brad Keselowski mentioned why he ran SRX full time was because of the lack of the seat time on the Cup side of things, with the lack of practice and such. It kept him, sharp, on edge, ready to go, race week in and out. That was all the SRX was trying to be. And I was quite shocked to see that NASCAR was threatened by them. It didn't make any sense.
Yeah, threatened by the fun caution. That's what we're
The
threatened
fun
by, the fun flag. I mean, come on, NASCAR, seriously. But in the same time, it really showed the holes that have been in the series, and the fact that, like the Live Golf, I think this was brought up as well, that the Live Golf, something like that, the investors could come in and basically, since payroll is so low for these drivers and they're not really earning very much money, that an outside investor could come in and literally buy these drivers to come over to their series. So I think that there was definitely an awareness that there was some holes in the floor and how things were structured on the NASCAR side. And look, we're in an era now where drivers are making, a couple $1 million when, 20 years ago, your top flight drivers were making $25 to $35 million a year. I mean, Jimmy Johnson didn't make a couple of $1 million a year. He was able to buy a team because this guy made $35 million a year for 10 plus years. So the amount of money that's actually going to the drivers these days reflects the reason why we have such an issue right now with a superstar. There's really no superstars to be paid. Kyle Larson, I guess, can be in that small list of superstar drivers at this point in time. But I think the only reason why he earns that is because of his availability in dirt track racing. Like, he carries the staple because he's not just representing NASCAR, he's really representing the entire racing community. And y'all know I'm not a fan of Kyle Larson.
No.
Right. So, I mean, I give the man his due.
Neither am I. But the one comment I do remember popping up that Lee said, Justin Bonsignor was not in the SRX series. He never ran one race in there. And I know that for a fact. Because you're talking to somebody who was watching SRX to the T, not only with racing, but outside with the social media stuff and their news presses and whatnot.
So Justin Bosinger, what just popped up here, he was not affiliated with SRX? Is that what you're saying?
He never ran with the SRX. He was not a test driver. He was never a driver, never did an official race.
And who was making that comment? Was that
Miss Lee?
Yeah, that was Miss Lee.
Okay. All right. So I'm not sure. Now he is in the Wheeling series now, but he was not connected with SRX at all.
No.
She did just ask, because it's not showed up on the screen yet, then who was the Wheeling driver that got a truck ride out of it?
There was somebody, and somebody won. Oh yeah.
Doug Kobe. He was the first and only when they had the local legend ride, he was the first and only guy to win an SRX.
All right. Well, that'll cover the lawsuit side of things. It's going to be an interesting season. Of course, I don't know where we would have been at had we lost 23-11 in Front Row Motorsports. I think that the series and NASCAR itself benefited just by not eliminating a couple of race teams, including a billionaire owner named Michael freaking Jordan. I mean, geez Louise, guys, we want these kind of owners in the Cup Series. We don't want to have these guys run out of the sport, but at the same time, you can't just come into a sport and waste a bunch of money and not get anything in return, right? And I think that we've seen, as you look at the geographic of things over the years, there's been so many drivers, so many owners come in and then leave brokenhearted and broke years later. The Medallion guy from Richard Petty Motorsports, Gwynn Racing, Furniture Row Racing, a perfect example of a high-quality team that could just no longer pay the bills to stay as a functioning race team because they didn't have some solidity, some solid ground to stand on. Sorry, guys. Still trying to shake the old cobwebs off. I'm actually a little bit nervous. I ain't going to lie. And I know that we're time crunched as well. So that's another thing that I want to stay in time with, because we do have to sign off for another show to come on. So we'll keep that in mind as well. The next subject, do we have anything else to discuss with the lawsuit? Any questions, Mr. CJ Sports?
Nope.
Okay. We shared some stuff over to the 110 Nation group. We'll try to get all this connected into one. That way, as well as we're using a lot of AI these days, and I think that it's very important. It gives you a quick summary of things. There's going to be topics that we all bring to the table that we may not have all of our facts straight. This is really going to help us to make sure that we're staying on facts and not.
Speaking of AI, why in the world did NASCAR promote the Daytona 500 with AI when they had plenty of B-roll footage and everything else from past races to promote this race?
It seems to be the going trend right now. It really does.
I get it, but at the same time,
I know what you're talking about,
come on,
right?
You got to look it up.
Okay, I will. And look, every promoter in the race, local racetrack promoter in the world is using AI right now for graphics and stuff like that. And we all can tell. Look, even our logo was generated by Chat GPT. But my son, he would get unglued. It's Chat GPT, Dad. It's Chat GPT. So we are sharing that information. That way we can kind of stay on. Of course, we have our opinions, of course, but we want to make sure that, with names and stuff like that, this gives us another tool to be able to use to have a better show. So I've sent some things already to y'all. Our next topic of discussion is the playoff to the chase. That's a change in the championship format. And Mr. CJ Sports, I'm going to start with you on this one, because I know over the years you have formed your own opinion on what you felt like the chase was. The playoffs versus the chase. And I'm really looking forward to hearing exactly what you have to articulate with this change from the playoff style to now back to the chase, which, may I add, the chase is what we had when we had the down to the nitty gritty with Carl Edwards and Tony Stewart. I think it was back in 2014, I believe it was.
The old format was from 2004, and I definitely know 2013. I had to look up the starting year, but I know 2013 was the last year it was ran, and 2004 is when it was started. So right in there was when the last time the chase was ran.
Okay. All right.
So we've gone back, and I've not gone through the details of it. We've gone back to the old format, which was you just had 10 races. There wasn't the 3, then somebody eliminates, right? You went the whole.
Right.
Okay. Yeah. You get so used to different formats, and you start to grow on, and it gets to be interesting. But I do miss the old chat. I remember the Carl Edwards and Tony Stewart came down the last race, and basically whoever beat out who they came down to the very end of the points on that in the very last race. I like it. I like how, I give credit. NASCAR gets a lot of criticization. I don't even know if that's a real word or not, of how they do things. But they at least listen to the fans and try to make adjustments. And, half the time the fans complain, well, we don't like this car, so they come out with the Gen 6. They didn't like that car, came out with the car tomorrow. Came out with that, they at least make some attempts to change things to give the fans what they want. And it don't matter what really NASCAR does to the whole playoff and chase format or whatever we want to call it at this point, because you're still going to have the same critics. Well, if we had the old point system where you didn't have a playoff or you didn't have a chase, this would really be the winner. I never wanted to go back there anyway. I'm probably one of the fewer people that have that opinion. I remember going to my very first race at Atlanta Motor Speedway when the chase ended, the season ended at Atlanta, and all Jeff Gordon had to do was start his car, and he won the championship that year. That's how much of a lead he had. Right. So to me, there had to be a change. I don't want there to be the final race of the season. You're deciding a champion, and there's really no race because he's unlocked it up. I like to see them going back to this old format. I'm very curious to see if the fans have the same reaction, if they're excited, that they kind of got something back that they wanted, that they've been complaining about this format, or is this just going to lead into another, well, now I wish we had this format, or I wish we went, we'll see. But I'm glad to see NASCAR trying to spice things up at the end of the year because it's just nothing worse than, I don't know, with the current the now the former system, the only good thing was you at least had 4 people in the contention. And it sucked for some of those drivers that were very consistent throughout the playoffs and probably should have won the championship. The final 4. Excuse me, I got that popcorn in my throat now. But it kind of sucked that you got down to the last race and just because Joey Logano happened to win the first race in the playoff, and found a way to lock his way through. Excuse me.
No more popcorn.
Yeah, no more popcorn. I'm gonna get a swallow here. And someone else that was in the playoff and more consistent probably had a more valid reason to have a run at the championship or win the championship. But at least we knew that there was at least going to be 4 drivers that it came down to, and it made at least that last race exciting. No matter how the rest of the former system played out. So I'm kind of curious if we get that same excitement, if we get to have those same feelings of the playoffs that we formerly had, or if we're going to have regrets and wishing, since we got used to this system and how it finished out, if we're going to be, regretful that we switched back. So it's going to be interesting to me how that kind of plays out this year for the fans.
Taz.
Yeah. So I think when they did the press release, the press conference for this, Mark Martin said it best. This chase format, championship format, is the perfect compromise to pretty much get. NASCAR had said pretty much like, we still want to promote the whole winning deal, but we know fans were not entirely pleased with the whole playoff era. Kyle Larson said it best in the Chili Bowl when he was asked about this, or it may have been the Tulsa shootout. But he said that the playoff format basically ran its course at this point, because obviously fans are speaking up more and more every year. And NASCAR just came to a point of, what do we do? Obviously, they talked to the drivers. They've talked to some of the past drivers, because not only Mark Martin was involved, Dale Jr. was also involved too. And if you have Dale Jr. involved, you don't take offense to anybody of this. You have Redneck Jesus lifting up the world in his hands. But anyways, yeah, I think there's only 2 criticisms I have in terms of this new chase format now. Of course, they're both very minor. I don't see them as big deals. The only thing, we're still keeping 16 drivers, but it's going to be the 16 drivers that finish out the first 26 races that will basically make up the 16 driver chase grid. However, there is no playoff points, no chase points. There is still points reset, but it only happens once. And I'll get to that in a minute. But now, to promote the whole winning aspect, in the years past, drivers would get 40 points for a race win. That's if you take out the stages. And that's another minor critical thing of why are we still stage racing for this at this point with the chase, being that there's no playoff points, no additional chase points. So kind of odd that we still have the stages, but again, minor thing. There could be bigger deals than that. But the winner would get 40 points in the last few years for winning a race. Now the race winning points pay is 55. It increased by 15 points. So now, basically, unless the winner gets the fast lap bonus point, can score the most points without scoring a point in the stage, guaranteed. Unless you finish like second place and sweep both of the stages, that's pretty much like the only way you can pretty much score as much points as the winner at that rate. And the best part of this is, and I know I'm gonna step on Chris's toes for this, is that the chase starts at around the same time frame.
Yes.
The Cup Series and what's now the O'Reilly Auto Parts Series will start on Labor Day weekend at Darlington. The trucks will be 1 week later, being that they're off on the Labor Day weekend.
How many years have I bitched about that? How many years? I mean, I finally got what I wanted. NASCAR listened to me. Thank you, Mark. Stages also play into television coverage. Yes, it does. It gives them the quality time to air commercials. But we already know NBC is nothing but commercials. So, I mean, I liked it much better on Prime. I think Prime did a heck of a job.
But with
Taz,
this,
go ahead.
But with the whole chase side of things, we obviously mentioned the Cup with 16. Was formerly the Xfinity, now the O'Reilly series. They'll still have 12, and the trucks will still have 10. I do think 16 drivers is a little too much. I mean, you're pretty much guaranteeing just about half the field. But then again, when you look at other sports per se, like let's say, I know NHL is the big one. NBA is the same way. Pretty much, they're taking like half the teams out of the league to go into the playoffs, pretty much.
Yeah.
I know NFL and MLB are a little bit more narrowed down, but I mean, like I said, not a big deal, but it is what it is. And now whoever the regular season champion is guaranteed a 25-point deficit from second place.
Right.
So again, we're still promoting the winning side that NASCAR is wanting, and still rewarding the regular season champion.
Yes.
And now we're going to the chase that the fans want. So there's a win on both sides, and that's where Mark Martin's phrase of the perfect compromise you could ask for in this chase format.
Yeah, great point. And I think that there's been a change as well. No more 40 points for a win. It's now 55 points.
Yep,
now, guys, and this is where I have a negative mind on what's going to happen here. Unfortunately, we have lost the Game 7, right, which was the final playoff. And I get it. I get the old school, but there's a reason why we changed in the beginning. And I'll stand up for Daniel Trotta and Larry Mack when this first come out. Why would we take the sport backwards? Well, there's been enough uproar through the fan base, the older fan base, that they like this structure a lot better. But the problem is we've done this before and it didn't work out, and we changed to something. So without going all the way back to crowning, a champion in September, and our series is over in November. This chase format has basically given both sides kind of what they want. But unfortunately, what it also did was it eliminated the ability for a small team to step up. And that's the one thing that I think we're going to lose in this win and you're in. Second of all, when I'm telling you that you're going to gain 55 points versus 40 points, so you're going to have basically a 25-point advantage on the second place for your win. Is Hendrick ever going to lose a championship now? Like literally, like that's what we did. We stacked everything back to the top teams, right? And now we pushed the small teams out of the way. It sounds like our economy. It sounds like exactly what's going on in America right now, where small businesses are being eat up left and right by mega corporations. And Mr. CJ Sports, even with your lawnmower business, there are literally businesses right now going around buying up small lawnmower businesses. Yes. And it's going to be great for you to be able to get that check if that ever happens. But in reality, there's a reason why they're doing it. And it's to take the profits for themselves. And they're going to, eventually, whatever they replace you with, they're going to pay those people a lot less, and they will replace you. And I feel like that's kind of what's going on here with this replacement from the playoff structure to the chase structure. The one greatest thing, and I think that we'll all miss the most, is the fact of like a Shane Van Gisbergen or a Ricky Stenhouse. These guys were really good at certain places, and it gave them a chance to catapult their team, which would typically be a 30th place finishing team at the end of the year, and giving them the ability to win that end of the year purse. That end of the year purse is so much more than what race winnings are week in, week out. It's that championship purse that really helps fill in the dividends. And what we've done now by taking out the win and you're in scenarios is we've basically eliminated the little guys' chance and ability to earn more and to step their operation up. Of course, now with the charter system and allowing outside influences to come in, there's other outlets that they can use to become a more dominant force of a team. Shane Van Gisbergen admitted himself that that's why he's here. He's here on the win and you're in basis because Trackhouse said, hey, this guy is a road course expert, and I know that we can get a couple wins. And we spent all last year wondering, are you ever going to lose a road course race? Now he's not going to be given that ability to go race for a championship because of this new format. But the one thing that I can say that I've watched over all the years of racing is that little thin line. You always have your top teams, right? Your top four, maybe 3 to 5 teams. We always talked about the big three, but 3 to 5 teams that have kind of separated themselves from the field. But what we've never really talked about is the battle from 12th to 21st. And I think that this year that will put an emphasis. That will put another emphasis of who's 12th and who's, because somebody can slide so fast from that 12th spot to outside of it. And somebody from 21st can so easily gain some momentum toward the end of the regular season and find themselves in that position. So you may have a good run all year long, but 5 races to go, you start stubbing your toe and you have a blown engine and a wreck. And you can look at the schedule of the races that are leading up to that. There is possibilities of this to happen to certain drivers. That's where our interest is going to be back drawn to. And then with the reset, as I said, the win is so unbelievably stacked now that basically if you've got a guy like Kyle Larson who wins 6, 7, 8, 9 races in a year, there's not going to be a championship race at the end, y'all. It's not, because he's going to separate himself from the rest. I do hope that in this competitive environment that we have, that Penske's going to be able to catch up or stay with the dominant team. Joe Gibbs will, but the feel good stories about 2311 and Trackhouse and all, that the odds are already stacked against them. They're not 4-team operations. They are missing $40 million worth of sponsorship for that 4th car. Their value of their company is not worth as much because they don't have the 4th charter. I really feel like with all the changes that were happening in this lawsuit and stuff, the one thing that I wish 2311 and Front Row really pushed for was the elimination of the 4th charter to the top 2 teams, which is Joe Gibbs and Hendrick Motorsports, because that gives them such an advantage versus sponsorship opportunities. A driver that is not necessarily, as good. Look at Alex Bowman. Of course, he's, catching the rear there at Hendrick Motorsports. Over at Joe Gibbs Racing, the 4th driver. Really, it's hard to say who the 4th driver is because I think we all pin that to be Chase Briscoe. And Chase just put out, he became a hot commodity last year toward the end of the season. Really just turned the heat up and I think turned a lot of heads. So You can't say Christopher Bell. You can't say. Oh, okay. I did figure out who the fourth wheel is there. Ty Gibbs. Okay, get him out of here. All right, let's go. Let's get him out. Let's get him out of there. He's a seat warmer. That's it. Because we've never had in Joe Gibbs' entirety of being around as a team owner outside of J.J. Yaley that's been given this much opportunity without a win at one of the top organizations in NASCAR. So that is my biggest concern right now with this playoff structure that's now going to be the chase. And as Miss Sharon said from Fan for Racing, eliminations will still happen. They'll just happen organically. And also to bring back Shane Van Gisbergen, he had a much better improvement there toward the second half of the season than what he did in the first half. And I do expect Van Gisbergen to be a quality threat in the championship top 16. I believe he is a top 10 driver. Last year was his rookie season, and he did by far. He broke records that I think will stand for a very, very long time in NASCAR. So, any closing thoughts on the?
I think there could be a couple of drivers that could knock Hendrick and Gibbs possibly out of the top contender spots that I think everybody's pretty much guaranteeing them at this point. I think Tyler Reddick's got the capabilities. I think he came very close to winning a regular season championship one year. So I think if Reddick can have another prime year that he had that year, he could be a solid contender with 23-11. And then, of course, and I know this is a top-tier team, but I think this driver definitely has the capabilities to compete with Hendrick, to compete with Gibbs, and that is Ryan Blaney. I understand Penske thrived very well with this, with the old win and you're in, win and move on championship format type of deal. But I think Blaney consistently is a guy who can contend with the Gibbs, the Hendricks. I just think at first I thought he was kind of like one of those lucky get around winners, like he wins like once a year type of deal, and we never hear of him ever again. But as he's gone on, and I believe when he won that championship, the confidence just grew. And obviously he's in Penske, so it's top equipment. But like I said, I think the confidence has just grown. And I think he very well has capabilities to become a top contender for the championship.
Yeah, I do too. Any last maybe major predictions of who's going to win the championship based off of this format? Who would be the favorites, or are we pretty much sticking together that it's going to be?
Well, being that we had four, we finished with four. I'll give my four before Mr. CJ gets his. I think four drivers that could be contenders to win this. I'm going William Byron, Christopher Bell, Denny Hamlin, and I'm not saying his name because I'm not a fan of him, but I'm going to say somebody else. And honestly, I think Chase Elliott could too. Chase Elliott thrives on the consistency side of things.
I see the Larson thing, or I see Larson. I like the Hamlin. I like the Blaney. Who else? And I can see the Chase Elliott. I can see those four.
Yeah, I can definitely see Logano. I can see, of course, Kyle Larson, William Byron, and William's due. He's due, like he really is. So Ryan Blaney, Joey Logano, William Byron, Kyle Larson, and let's do Christopher Bell. That's my top 5 there to keep your mind on for the championship this season. And look, William Byron's due, Christopher Bell overdue. So really, we could see there are eligible drivers that could keep this thing really close going to the end. Do we need? Okay, all right. So that's that we do have like 28 minutes left of the show. First of all, I want to give a huge shout out and thanks to Fan for Racing for allowing us to borrow their car. Basically, I mean that's what we're doing. We've got a free ride here, and that's amazing. And thank you so much for this opportunity. And hopefully, we will shine and bring some good things along with us. Our next topic of discussion is changes to the schedule. And first of all, before we get there, I do want to give you a quick rundown of what exactly changes have been made, and then we can kind of just go from there. So let me read this itinerary real quick. Added or returned tracks for the NASCAR Cup Series. North Wilkesboro hosts a points-paying cup race for the very first time since 1996, making a big return to NASCAR roots. Chicagoland returns to the schedule. No more Chicago street course. We are headed back to the Speedway, baby. The Cup Series returns to the 1.5 mile oval for the first time since 2019, scheduled for July 5th. San Diego, the Naval Air Station, and as a veteran that's here with us, Jason, I'm sure, Mr. CJ Sports, I'm sure you have your opinion on this. A new street course event on a military base debuts in June, and a variety with a road course in Southern California. So this is going to tap over to the Southern California side that we've lost since the closure of California Speedway. Bowman-Gray, the Class Exhibition, returns here on February 1st after a successful show previously, bringing NASCAR to an iconic short track. That may be on hold for a couple of days as a snowstorm is coming in to blast the eastern seaboard once again. We'll have to see how that happens. It may be run on Monday or Tuesday if they get the amount of snow that has been forecasted. And look, I'm all for Bowman-Gray being on the schedule, but I don't know why we're racing at Dover for an all-star race, and we have Bowman-Gray Stadium available.
Why?
That's the perfect place for, and Dover has no business being off the schedule at all. I'm completely against that. I haven't got to that yet, but I guess that's something. Give me a second and we'll get to that, and I'll let your opinion go there. Removed or changed tracks, and I'm all for a lot of this. Because one thing y'all know, I don't like street racing. I like street racing. I don't really like road course racing. Let me reiterate there. Chicago street race, gone. The downtown Chicago street race for recent seasons, not on the 2026. It's been replaced by San Diego. Mexico City, never should have been there. No reason to be there other than Daniel Suarez got to win in front of his home crowd in the Xfinity race. That was good for him. But we don't belong in Mexico City. Dover is one of my most favorite tracks ever. It was one of the first places I ever got to win on online racing. I'm really a big super speedway racer, but that was, Dover really taught me a lot about managing a race car. And so, that's a kind of a breeding ground. Dover has so much significance over a driver's career. Like if you can ride on that concrete, you can race anywhere because it's all about taking care of those tires, right? And so now they're going to host the All-Star race. There's no lights at Dover. I really thought when it was first announced that they were going to add lights to it. I know I'm doing all this stuff and stuff.
No, I'm just reacting to the whole Dover thing.
So I don't know what the hell NASCAR was thinking. The Clash would have been a great mid-season May race, right? To do an All-Star race from, and it's right there at their in their backyard. So let's bring the Clash back to Daytona, even if we got to do it on the short course and not the road course. I said the short course, and get it out of there. Let's put Bowman-Gray as the All-Star race and get Dover back on the schedule. Watkins Glen has always been an August race. It's always been a summertime race. We're going to go up to New York when it's freaking cold. And I can't wait to see what Taz has to say about that. So I know, Taz, you want to hit on a couple of things. Make sure you hit the Watkins Glen, okay? Playoffs and championships. Phoenix Raceway no longer the season finale. We are now going to go back to Miami. So the season begins in Florida and ends in Florida. Yeah. Off weekends added. The 2026 race season has 2 off weekends, giving teams more breather room. Overall structure of the Cup Series remains long and competitive with diverse. Okay, that's a bunch of Chat GPT, Joro. So, all right. Let's open the place up. We've got 23 minutes to get this thing out the door. So, Taz, I'm going to go with you this time. What are your thoughts and changes to the NASCAR schedule? I know you have some things that have really set you off. Let's hear it. Now's your time.
I like Chicagoland is back. It sucks that we lost on the Chicago Street Course, but I'm okay with the Chicagoland coming back.
Oh yeah. The Roval. No more Roval.
Yes.
Sorry.
Yes.
Go ahead, Taz. Go ahead.
So yeah, the Chicagoland, I'm glad that's there. I'm glad North Wilkesboro is now a points race. I am not a big fan of this Dover All-Star race deal. All-Star race has always been a night race. Why, and that I know of anyways, why is it a day race? Just why? That makes no sense.
Why?
But I think now here's my deal. I'm okay with Bowman-Gray as the Clash, but why not do something like very unique and different? Why can't we go back to dirt racing, Charlotte All-Star dirt track race? Come on. Keep the Cup cars on the dirt track. They did all that testing for Cup cars, for the next gen Cup car. When Bristol was a dirt track for those couple of years or whatever. And I think the next gen cars raced amazingly on dirt. Can we do that at Charlotte? It's already a named dirt track. You're already in Charlotte for the following week anyway. As you said, Chris, a lot of the teams, this is their backyard. So why not keep it there? As for the Watkins Glen deal, look, I know it's usually an August, September race, and it's usually kind of like a weird peak of high temps and stuff like that. But that late April, early May time frame up here in the Northeast, weather's a hit or miss in terms of rain or sun. So that one was and let me remind you, the grandstands at Watkins Glen have absolutely no coverage. So if it rains, you're going to get wet. So pack those ponchos, pack some extra clothes, just in case if Mother Nature decides to take a dumpster fire on you.
We got rain tires.
But I think I'm hoping with this change of the Watkins Glen deal, we don't lose the great racing that the track has always had. I think, in my opinion, Watkins Glen is literally the best road course track outside of the street circuits that NASCAR has. And no, that's not me saying from a New York biased opinion. I think overall Watkins Glen has put on some of the best road course racing in NASCAR history, and that's just my opinion. You can agree or disagree with that. I mean, shoot, we've seen the whole Marcos Ambrose, Brad Keselowski deal.
Watkins Glen has definitely been the better road course.
And a couple of years ago, we saw the shades of that all over again with SVG and Chris Buescher. We saw the kind of passing of the torch when Chase Elliott got his first Cup Series victory, in Johnson's basically retirement year, or the year before. But either way, I mean, there's been so many great moments, great races from Watkins Glen. I just hope that that the racing now that we're going from late summertime to now we're going to like springtime at this point, early spring, I would say. I just hope that the type of racing we've seen goes away. And the Roval, I think, and I'll pretty much quote Junior on this, with how well the 1.5 mile speedway racing has been, I'm not surprised that we lost the Roval and we got the Oval. I know we've seen great racing from the next gen car at Charlotte at night. Let's see if it stays the same way or if it gets better. I hope better in the daytime.
Oh, is it my turn? It's my turn. My turn. All right. Couple regrets. One, that I never went to Bowman-Gray while I lived in North Carolina. Always saw the video, always saw the action, sometimes a little extreme, but I'd love to go on there. There wasn't too many tracks in North Carolina I didn't get to go to. Another one was North Wilkesboro, not because I never went, it was because it didn't open back up until after I moved away from North Carolina. So kind of upset, and I might make a trip back to go to the North Wilkesboro track. That was a track, every time I passed it, you can see it from the highway. I had my regrets that I didn't live in North Carolina while it was open. So now that I'm upset that I don't live there no more, it's open. When they reopened the Rock, I went and I was there when Casey Kane won in the Truck Series race when they brought it back. A lot of these historical tracks I did try to visit when they reopened or before they shut down. Miami, the final race of the season. I like it. I like more so knowing, and not that Phoenix was a bad choice as well. You knew the weather was going to be good. I was there the year I did media coverage, the year Jeff Gordon retired. Great race, great time. Got to be up there in the media center, listen to Jeff Gordon's farewell and all that stuff. Was actually supposed to be there the next year when Tony Stewart retired. We just didn't make the trip down there for personal reasons. But it was crazy because I went from it being 80 degrees even at night to getting back to North Carolina. We actually left the windows open thinking it was going to be warm. Came back and the house was like 40 degrees because it got super cold. Some cold front come through. And speaking of cold and speaking of snow, I don't want to talk about snow right now, as us in Ohio and this particular area, Dayton area, we got the most snow in a 24-hour period that we've gotten since it even beat the record of the 1978 blizzard. So we went through it this last week. Snow removal business has been great this week, so I am appreciative of that. Chicagoland, I'm glad to see that back on the schedule. I'm not a street course person, but I'm not really a road course person. So to get me interested in somewhat of the road course, I was more of a fan of the Roval than I am of the road courses. I'm sorry, and there's nothing against Watkins Glen. There's nothing against none of these. Sonoma? I've just never been a big road course fan. If I watch it, it's more for the strategy and watch these teams try to backtrack the pit stops. That's probably the most interesting thing, because most of the time they get so spread out. It's not. There are certain tracks. I went to Charlotte more times than I can ever count. Charlotte Motor Speedway. And honestly, and I think you remember, Chris, I took my son the year that Martin Truex, I think he led like every lap by like 2 laps and kicked everybody's butt.
Right.
Charlotte's one of those tracks that it's hit and miss. Most of the time it's missed. Most of the time somebody just dominates the race. There was a period that Jimmy Johnson dominated, and it was great and convenient for me to go to the track, but it sucked because it was not always competitive and you just watch somebody run away with it. And a lot of times you get that in the road course. Not all the time, but a lot of times. So the Roval kind of gave me both worlds, so I enjoyed it. The only opportunity I got to go to Indianapolis so far in my lifetime, it was when they were still doing the Roval there. I don't know what the experience is like as the regular oval, so we want to make a trip back to actually catch it as an oval versus the Roval. I think Almadinger won it that year, if I'm not mistaken. My wife just likes saying the Dinger and Almadinger. We walk around the house all season, Almadinger. So my wife don't keep up with a lot of racing, but she'll ask about Almadinger. I do enjoy the fact that Chicagoland's back. I'm trying to think if it was any other All-Star race. Yes, to your point, Taz. I can't recall a race, an All-Star race that wasn't at night. I only got to go one myself personally. I had a buddy that I actually took to the truck race when they came back to Rockingham. It was funny. He was one of those typical guys that he didn't watch NASCAR, and so anytime he watched me watch it, when I was at the pizza shop I was working at the time, he'd walk in, left turn, is all you would hear. I'd take him to his first NASCAR race, and it happened to be the truck race, and then the next year I know I'm going to the All-Star race with him because he loved it so much. So
I believe that.
I like the bigger. I don't know, the All-Star race to me. I want it to be a bigger ordeal than. I want it to be a night race. I want it to be a big deal. I want it to be at a bigger track, underneath the lights. If it be the Charlotte, if it be Darlington, if it be even Daytona, where it's a whole crapshoot. Ain't nobody care. Their car's getting damaged. They're going for $1 million. The cars don't got to come back. I mean, they're not necessarily intentionally wrecking each other, but it is what it is. So why not let Daytona or Talladega underneath the lights, have that kind of atmosphere? And if it comes back, as there's going to be a big one, nobody loses any points kind of deal. So I don't know. I just like the bigger tracks, the night race for the All-Star race.
I do like the fact that at one point in time, NASCAR did do like experimental things. Just for the All-Star race. Like they did, what was it? I think they did with like the Gen 6 car. They did like the super speedway giant freaking wing, and they brought back like the Xfinity size splitters that stuck up like Pinocchio's nose whenever he lied or whatever. I mean, just things like that are. That's just how I think, but.
And it's a great time for that, even with the Clash. Those two races, non-point races, are perfect times to, have an opportunity to test some things out that, maybe you're not wasting a lot of people's time. You're not getting a true rating maybe in the tunnel. You get them out there, get them an actual live race action and see it. If it works, it works. It don't, it don't. It's no cost. One's for, $1 million. The other one's just to kick off the season. Don't count. Let's try a few things. I kind of like that as well.
Yeah, I'm all for moving the All-Star race to different venues.
Yep.
I think that's a good idea. I would love to see Nashville Fairgrounds be given that opportunity.
Well, hold on.
Yes.
On the short track deal, before we get to Mr. CJ here, I think if we can improve the short track racing, I'd be okay with All-Star race short track racing. If we can improve the product, please.
Yeah, I miss the days.
There's a stipulation in there.
I miss the late 90s, early 2000s short track Bristol where, Terry Labonte and Dale Sr. and, them out there beating each other up. Yes. Back to your point earlier about the dirt track, I was not a fan of the whole dirt track racing. If we're going to do dirt track racing, let's invest into a track and actually be on a dirt track versus trying to throw a bunch of dirt on a concrete that fades off halfway through the race and it changes. Like, if we're going to do this, let's do it right. And
like say the Charlotte dirt track, because we're already in Charlotte the next week anyway. It's right in the backyard of everybody in that track.
Yeah, it's just, if we're gonna do it right. I just hate that they half butt it, and it had to be a lot of money to sit there and bring all this dirt in and all the overhead it costs to put dirt on track to clear it back off to go. If you're gonna do it, let's do it right. Like, all this money that comes into the sport, all this money they got, why are you halfway doing it? If you're gonna do it right and put on a great product.
Fan for racing, Ms. Sharon said All-Star race at Dover, maybe an attempt at improvement, no points on the line. I could see that, but I could definitely see where some guys would throw it in the wind, being that it's the concrete place. And they always had great racing too. I'm not sure what that comment was too, but All-Star race needs to be unique, is what Ms. Lee has suggested. And she also said, I'm glad that Chicagoland is back. I've never been to Chicagoland either, but it was always one of my favorite tracks. We always had a unique winner there as well. Like it always was. It's kind of like Homestead and Chicagoland kind of felt like sister tracks. You had unique winners when you showed up there.
I feel like Chicagoland is if you put Homestead and New Atlanta together, and Chicagoland's the baby.
Yeah. Wow. That's wow. Making babies, huh, Taz? All right. So look, we have gone into the show now for 1 hour and 52 minutes. We have two more things that we got to hit, and both of these should be fairly quick. We're moving forward. We're I guess going back with like this playoff to the chase format. I wouldn't be opposed to bringing the Clash back to Daytona and running the All-Star race at Charlotte. Mm-hmm. But I do have always said, and I've always been very upfront with this, I do like change. I do like doing something different. And, we went back to Homestead from Phoenix. And I'm with you, Mr. CJ Sports. Never really had a problem with Phoenix, but I kind of want this different venue because, when you had that win and you're in playoff format, guys got really good there. And so there were some teams that were good there and some teams that weren't. Moving that around the championship race was going to really be an important factor if we'd have stayed in the win you're in format. I think now that it's not it's based off of points and not eliminations, I think that's going to kind of smooth itself back out. And so I don't really see a need to much change where we're going to end the season at now. So that's good. That kind of eliminates that factor. But I do like the idea of moving the All-Star race around to different venues. I'm glad North Wilkesboro is on the schedule. But guys, you go back and watch old North Wilkesboro and what we've seen in the last two exhibition events. It's kind of what the racing is there. I mean, it's good, tight racing, but it's also a follow the leader racetrack. And I just don't know how long we'll get into that before we get aggravated by it's really tough to pass there. So we'll have to see how that works. Also, Wilkesboro used to send people home. That was one of the few racetracks that only 35, I think, teams could actually race there because they didn't have enough pit stall. And I was caught off guard by that as a longtime NASCAR fan. And my roots go all the way back to the early 80s. My first Daytona 500 was on my daddy's knee. And I was, 3 months old. Like I was raised in the NASCAR family. So I was really caught by surprise when my father reminded me that North Wilkesboro didn't have a 43 starting field. That was one of the races where 8 to 9 people always went home that were on a full-time schedule because they didn't have enough pit stalls. So it's going to be interesting to see how they fix that end of it, making sure that everybody has a pit stall. Because as far as I was known that they didn't have 40 pit stalls for that track. So I'll go back and show you some stats and all where, it clearly shows that they only raced 32 to 35 cars at that racetrack during the old Cup Series races there. So we'll have to see how that goes. There's still some other tracks. I'd like to see the return of Kentucky. I would like to see Nashville Fairgrounds added somewhere. There's still some places we've got to go. There's some resurrections going on. Of course, IHRA, I believe, bought, you just said Rockingham, North Carolina Speedway. So there's a possibility that we may see Rockingham return in some form and fashion soon. Those things really get me excited. We had the rookie sensations. We're down to 4 minutes. We had the rookie sensations. I think we all know who the main rookie is going to be. Of course, it's going to be our year to watch Connor Zillage. As I ask Miss Sharon, if you'll please add that image that I had asked to be added. Your thoughts real quick on who the standout sensation rookie sensation will be this year. We'll go with you real quick, Mr. CJ Sports, and then we'll go to Taz, and then we'll try to pop this image up real quick, and we can all have a big laugh and try to come up with yeah, there it is. There it is.
I agree with you. I agree with you with the Connor.
Connor. Also, Caden Honeycutt, I think, is a guy to watch. He's taking over the Tricon truck over in the truck series. So and he filled in for Stuart Friesen there at the end of the year. Taz, please bring that image back up. Please bring it back. Please. Because we got to name this image. I mean, if this isn't the greatest mustache ever, like, come on, let's bring it back up one more time. Come on. I know we only got 3 minutes. Come on. All right, the image should be stuck in your head. We may not get the image brought back up. We'll work on the image side of things, but I do want to thank Miss Sharon for.
Here it comes.
Come on, name that stash, y'all. Is that a porn stash? Is that what name is that? What was the California where they were on motorcycles? Chips? Is that a chip stash? What? Name that stash, y'all. That's Ryan Blaney.
Looks like a Pringles chip in a sense.
I mean,
but anyways,
start talking.
I think Zilich is the rookie standout. I think Katie Honeycutt is probably number 2. If you want to talk about the all 3 series type of deal, I think Zilich could be a threat to SVG on the road courses. I do believe. I think Zilich will probably be a better performer on the ovals. I just think it's gonna for him. I don't see him swinging out of the gate right away. He's got to adjust to the Cup guys and the competition level on that side. So.
Miss Sharon said it looks like something to keep warm in the cold weather. Exactly. Look, Corey Heim is the big loser here because we're not going to get to see him in a full-time ride somewhere. I think he's going to be a sensational pick coming down the road. I just hate that we're not going to get round 2 of what we got last year. Hopefully some things will come together here in the last minute for Corey Heim. But Corey Heim, Connor Zilich, definitely 2 names to watch. That stash right there, I'm telling you, I can't get that stash. CJ Sports, you can't get that stash. No. Taz, I mean, it's rough as a grizzly bear, but even you can't get that stash. That is an A1. I don't think the stash gets any better than that. Now, it's 30 seconds left, guys. Thank you so much for being a part of this first show here. Glad to be back. My heart is warm. I love y'all. I'm so glad to have y'all back. I'm going to go back and listen to the show, probably work on some volume. You got the popcorn. I had the grilled cheese and ham, some French fries, even Dr. Pepper. It's so nice and good. Dr. Pepper. Okay. All right. Peace out. We'll be back next Wednesday with a whole nother slew of topics. Thank you for being a part of the show. Mr. CJ Sports, thank you for being our producer / co-host. Miss Sharon, thank you for being the real producer here tonight and giving us the images and giving us some things to work with. Thank you so much. All this come together in the last minute. We'll talk more about it next week. Sayonara, y'all. It's 8 o'clock. We got to go.